Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Missing Link in Your Healing. We have had a bit of a break, but we are really excited to be back and rearing to go for 2025. We did realize that in our last episode, we were going to share some of the tools that we have found most useful in our practice and our healing journey. And then we went down the rabbit hole of why it was so important to do the tools. And we did an entire podcast without mentioning the tools. So to make up for that omission, sorry if you've been hanging around for the last 2 weeks waiting for a tool. Here they are. Our sincerest apologies. And we're going to talk not about all of them. We're going to talk about a few of them that have had the most impact in our lives. And we're going to give you a place to start, because sometimes there's just so much out there and we have access to so much information, and we can have this massive toolbox, and then we end up having massive overwhelm and we end up doing nothing. So if we do nothing, nothing's going to change. We have to do something. So hopefully this episode will give you a place to start. Antoinette, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks, Loretta. So for me, and Loretta and I have discussed this, the absolute starting point is to have a daily practice in the morning. To just start off your day before you switch your phone on, look at your emails, run yourself ragged, because we have busy lives, is to wake up in the morning, and preferably before sunrise, just because it's the really most incredible time energetically and peacefully. But some people just aren't early morning people. But wake up in the morning and commit to doing a daily morning practice. I can tell you now that this is where I started on my healing journey 7 years ago, when I didn't know how to help myself heal from cancer. And as I mentioned in the last episode, when I don't do it vigilantly every day, I find myself falling off the bus. And the physical body always shows us when we've fallen off the bus. So I quickly get back on. But I am going to encourage myself and all of you to just commit in your life to a daily morning practice. So this is the practice that I started doing 7 years ago, and I'm committing to do every day of my life. And if I don't have enough time, I'll tell you what the shortcut is. So as soon as I wake up, I lie in my bed, because I like to be comfortable when I visualize or meditate. Some people prefer to sit cross-legged with their spine upright on a cushion. Really, I've learned the hard way over time that it has to be a personal preference, okay? Because I can't do this kind of visualization work we're going to go through now if my body's extremely uncomfortable. So I make sure I'm lying flat, I'm on my bed, and I just set an intention to start doing what I called in episode 14, I called it a body visualization scan. So this is it's a body scan combined with a visualization, and it's exceptionally powerful. It seems so simple, and it got guided to me, actually, because I didn't know where to start to try and help myself heal. I'd been meditating and doing all kinds of things for ages, and this got guided to me, and it's very powerful to physically heal, but also to align you mentally and spiritually. So you start at the top of your body, okay, on your head. And I start off with doing a body scan. I just scan my body to start with. Just go through my brain area, my face, my throat, every single part of my body, from my upper torso down to the bottom. And I just tune into the sense of what's going on in my body in that moment. Because very often, especially someone like me, because I'm very A-type personality, I don't even realize that I've got a pain in my head, or my back's a little bit stiff or sore. So this body scan will give you an opportunity to feel into your body, because the body never lies. So if there's something out of kilter emotion, your spirit, your mental, your body's probably holding it somewhere and you may not be noticing. So you just scan your body one little bit at a time. You can even do it quite quickly once you practice and just feel into what's going on in your body physically and energetically. If you are sick, which a lot of you probably are, like when I had cancer, I knew where my cancerous tumors were still sitting, and I knew which parts of my body weren't feeling great. So yeah, when I was doing the initial scan, I would just focus a little bit more on those, okay, and just feel into what's it feeling like there, what's going on. So because we don't want to bypass, as Loretta keeps on telling us, the reality of how we're actually feeling, because physically, mentally, and spiritually, because what I'm going to bring to you next, if you do it vigilantly, you will end up coming out the other side of it feeling grounded, spiritually better, physically often healed in the moment. I've had the most astounding physical results from doing this scan and mentally quite peaceful. So it's a very multifaceted, this thing. And the thing is to not use it as bypassing. That's what we keep on saying over and over. I used to meditate every morning, but I was zoning out there with God and then coming back and not being able to live in my body or cope with life. So this scan encompasses everything, okay? The reality of what is, the beautiful divine energy or higher power energy or healing energy within you, and it connects that with you and your body and what's going on in your body. And because the body is connected to your mind and your emotions, it also settles that without you even knowing. So you can decide what works for you, but what came to me is golden sparkles. Golden sparkles for me have a very, very high vibration. So before I start the meditation or the visualization, I call this a body scan visualization with golden sparkles. I just see all these golden sparkles up there in the ether. They seem to be up, but they can be around, and they're filled with divine light or healing light or whatever it is that feels right for you. And then I bring them in through my head, and I usually just take a straight line right down through Mother Earth, just to start to kind of ground myself between the heavens and the earth. Loretta's got a lovely visualization on this. And then I kind of just imagine a golden circle or oval surrounding my whole body before I start. And then I start visualizing those golden sparkles in my head, in my brain, because my brain needs a lot of rewiring all the time. So I'm like, while these golden sparkles are there, I see them in my amygdala, and because that's where our primitive brain sits. And I say, please renew my mind. And now I'm not bypassing because I've already experienced what's going on. I'm just going, okay, the mind can be renewed, and these sparkles are bringing that amazing energy. And if there's any healing that needs to take place, physically, mentally, or spiritually, these sparkles are bringing it in. And I visualize the sparkles, especially if you've got a tumor or some real physical issue going on, something in your colon or somewhere. When you get to that part of the body, the golden sparkles eat up the cancer or the disease or whatever it is that you've got. So they gobble them up and then they explode like into some kind of healing light. Often for me, it becomes a river of golden energy then. And by the way, this kind of visualization, when I started doing it, I thought, yeah, this is lame. It's so bypassy. But I started doing research, and they've actually shown that this kind of visualization can seriously play a big role in physical healing. So I then moved to my face and my throat. I've had throat problems my whole life. That's where my cancer was. So I often focus a lot there. And then I moved through every single bone in my body and joint, because the bone marrow contains, I think, our connection to life and to God. And I go through my bones, I go through my muscles, tendons. If I don't have a lot of time, I just sort of mention it and visualize it happening all over my body. And then I go through each and every organ of my body, from, I don't know if the thyroid's an organ, to my heart, to my lungs, my kidneys, every single part of my body. And I send these golden sparkles, or sometimes it's just golden light. And if I'm sick, especially like when I had cancer, that part of my body that was sick, I would just rest there for a while and often send a ray of golden light there, or just flood it with these golden sparkles. And often the body, when you just focus on the part that's not well, it'll give you a message. Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it'll say to you, I mean, I had visions coming up. I'm not going to share now, it'll take too long, but you have no idea what some parts of my body told me when I had cancer and what they needed to heal. You could ask that part of your body, is there anything you want to tell me? Is there anything I need to do to heal you? And you'd be surprised, it might not happen in the first day or the second day, but a couple of weeks in, you might find your body's giving you images or some messages. I see Loretta nodding. I go through my lymphatic system with the golden sparkles. I go through, I just visualize my blood vessels, veins, capillaries that carry blood all over the body, that it's carrying peace and oxygenated blood and vibrant health. I mean, you'll adapt it to your own way, but I go through every single part of my body. And at the end, I envisage my immune system being strong and my pH level being a perfect 7.2. And I thank my body and I imagine my nervous system calm. And that's it. But I've gone through this in detail in episode 14, so go back to it. And then after this, I usually do a pretty short, but I call it a future life visualization, which is a term I stole from Nicole LaPera, but I started doing this years before she put it out. It's just because Loretta and I discussed before we started, we both have minds that tend to focus on the present suffering and the ookiness. And Loretta coaches and teaches people all the time that it's to sit with that and the tension of it, but then to focus on what you want, on a better reality, a future life is what I call it. So, because I often wake up to this day and I go, what's the point, you know? So I do the body scan first, and then after that, even if I don't have a lot of time, I just sit with the ookiness that I feel or I woke up with and the tension of it, and then I focus on the reality that I want. Now, we've done episodes on that, and it's not always so easy to come to exactly what kind of life it is you want or what your creative purpose is or your spiritual purpose. But even if you can invoke a feeling of how you want to feel every day, that was the most important thing for me, because I spent my whole life being anxious and miserable and fearful, even though I had a great life. So I would try, and it took me months, I think, to bring the feelings together with the visualizations. But if you don't bring feelings to visualizations, they don't really work. But sometimes the feelings don't come immediately. So please don't give up on yourself. Don't be impatient and just keep at it. The most important thing about these practices, I'm sure Loretta will agree, is that you do them. You show up every single day. You set aside the time and you do it. And you don't be hard on yourself. There are days, even to this day, I go, this is not working. I can't get the feeling. I can't even do this visualization, but just do it. And if you haven't done it as well as you think you should, that's fine. The fact that you showed up and committed to do this for your body and your mind, your body knows that. That's enough. And over time, it becomes easier and easier. So when you're looking at your future life, many people will know what they want to do. I knew how I wanted to feel. So the feeling, I knew I needed to feel joyful and free and peaceful rather than anxious and stressed. So, and then a spontaneous visualization came to me of being on the beach and swimming in the sea without any self, because I used to be very like, I'm too fat to wear a costume. But you know, your own will develop, or you can always go to Loretta for some coaching and guidance, because she takes people through very specific processes. Because for me, it just developed intuitively over time, but it's much easier if you can get some proper help. So those are the two things I'd say every day for me are very critical. And then Loretta's going to talk about the third thing, which only came to me recently, and I never ever skip it, even if I skip these other things. Loretta?
Thanks, Antoinette. I just want to add just a few things to what Antoinette has said. We connect to our spirit, that part of us that is eternal and beyond our body and our mind, through our imagination. And it communicates to us through our intuition. So when you do something like the body scan and the golden sparkle visualization, you could think, oh, well, I'm just imagining it. I mean, there's so much research to prove that whether you run the race in your mind or whether you run the race on the track, the effects are the same. So don't underestimate the power of your imagination, because it's not just your imagination. It is the bridge to connect you to your spirit. And your spirit is where the truth of who you really are lies. And your spirit is the place that the healing lies in. Okay, so that's one of the real values of the visualization. All right, so it's easy to go, oh, it's golden sparkles, I'm imagining it eating the tumor, this is probably not working. And here's the other thing, you don't have to believe it in order for it to work. You just have to do it. All right, because it doesn't matter if you don't believe it. Another thing that I just want to say is that when you show up, so when you have one of those days where you're not feeling the love, it's not really making you feel amazing, you can't connect to the vision, it's just one of those like, oh, why am I even bothering? One of those kind of days. The act of showing up is a message to your subconscious that you value yourself enough to commit to your healing. And your subconscious governs the health of your autonomic nervous system, and your autonomic nervous system governs the health of your endocrine system and your immune system and just about everything else that happens in your body. So even if you have a bad morning routine, it's always twofold. You have the effect of the actual tool that you're using, but you have an effect that you don't realize. And that effect is your subconscious is being programmed for you. The message you're sending to your subconscious is, I'm focused on my healing. I'm showing up for my healing. I'm worth my healing. So whether the tool is going well for you that day or not is actually irrelevant. And there's another thing, and this is a term that is coined by Andrew Huberman. He calls it limbic friction. So, the limbic brain is the sort of primitive brain, and we've always got limbic friction against doing something that's potentially going to be uncomfortable. So getting out of bed in the morning or waking up before sunrise, when she said before sunrise, I was like, oh, there's a lot of people who are going to like, okay, we're out. So you don't have to do it before sunrise, okay? But having to get out of your bed or lie in your bed, and actually, instead of lying in your bed and just lying there, or lying in your bed and reading your book, actually doing the practice, there's going to be friction. So just know that you're not going to wake up going, oh God, I'm so excited about my morning routine. Can't wait to spend a half an hour. I'm so happy I could wake up a half an hour earlier so that I could fit this into my life. You're not going to. You're going to wake up going, oh, I hate my morning routine. Remind yourself it's limbic friction. That's what I've done. Since I learned that term, I'm like, oh, okay, this is just limbic friction. I cold plunge. I don't cold plunge every day, but I cold plunge about 3 or 4 times a week. And you know what? Every day when it's a cold plunge day, I'm like, ugh. And then I just go, Loretta, it's limbic friction. You know how great you feel when it's over. Just climb in the cold water. Okay. So when you know this, you can use these little easy hacks. Limbic friction. Resistance is another word for limbic friction. Okay. I like limbic friction because it sounds so scientific, and it is. So also when you schedule this practice, you're telling your subconscious, I am important enough to make an appointment with myself. I am the priority in my life because I start the day with me. And then for the next 23 hours of the day, or you can dedicate your life to whoever you want to. Okay. So it's important. There's a lot of unconscious, subliminal, subconscious stuff that's happening when you commit to it and you show up for it. And that's already valuable. And then you have the value of the tool on top of it. Okay. All right. So the one that Antoinette was saying is one of the more recent ones, and it's my most recent one because Antoinette told me about it, and I was like, sounds too simple. Because one of the strategies of my ego to like build up lots of limbic friction is that if it's not painful, it's probably not going to work, and if it's not hard and complicated, it's got to be complicated. Because if it's not complicated, then there's probably a catch. Is the static back exercise. Now, Antoinette did an episode on static back. I can't remember which episode was that, Antoinette. Do we know?
Yeah, episode 15, Loretta, and I'll put that in the show notes.
Right. Thank you. So go to episode 15 and you'll get the whole rundown of how to do this. It's really easy. You lie on the ground. You place your lower legs over a chair back, a chair seat or whatever it is, so that this is your lower leg, and you have an angle between your lower leg and your thighs and your spine. You're lying with your spine completely relaxed, and you're lying with your palms facing up about 45 degrees away from your body. You close your eyes and you focus on breathing through your belly. So when you breathe in, your belly rises. When you breathe out, your belly drops. If you're breathing into your belly, you're activating your diaphragm. If you activate your diaphragm, you activate your vagus nerve, the part of your vagus nerve that allows you to relax. So what you're doing with that belly breathing is you're bringing your autonomic nervous system into harmony once again. So again, you're tuning your endocrine system, all your hormones, your digestive, so all of it. All the stuff that's regulated, everything you don't have to think about is being regulated by your autonomic nervous system. And I suspect that the act of gravity pulling down allows all the muscles of the spine to relax into the mat or the floor. So obviously you're lying on the floor, right? So make yourself comfortable. I do it in a room that has a carpet on it. I put a yoga mat down. If you need to put 4 yoga mats down to make yourself comfortable, do that, right? And you literally close your eyes, focus on breathing into your belly and out of your belly. And you can do that for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. If you want a rule, I like rules. It takes energy about 20 to 21 minutes to circulate through your entire being. So honestly, if you want like a magic number, I'd say 21 minutes. But you know what? 1 minute is magic. 5 minutes is magic. It's all magic. Because remember, in taking the action, you're already programming your subconscious. All right. So don't think, oh, I don't have 20 minutes. I've only got 5. I can't do static back. And so I poo-pooed this. And then I had a sore neck and I couldn't get to the chiropractor, whoever else I was going to go to. And so I started doing static back. And not only did my sore neck go away, but my sore shoulder improved as well. And I was like, this actually works. So one of the beauties of static back is you can combine it with the simple Alexander technique. So you can combine things. So you can put 2 or 3 tools in one box if you want to. So when you're lying down on the floor, if you find your chin is tilting, it's better to put something under your head, right? So maybe a folded towel or a book. It's usually not in a pillow is usually too much, right? But anything that's going to you want to feel that your neck has its normal curvature, right? And that you're not feeling like you're constrained. A lot of us need this. Okay, so do that, and then you're lying there. Now you focused on your breathing. You're in the position. You've closed your eyes. Your belly's moving up and down. Okay, so for a minute, don't worry about the breathing too much. Just focus at the top of your spine and imagine there's light infusing the base of your skull, and that your skull gets so light that it just gently lifts off the top vertebrae, just a tiny bit. And what that does is that elongates that cervical spine and allows you to have the normal curvature of the spine. Then take your awareness to your collarbones and imagine with your mind, you don't have to move your body, just imagine with your mind that you're moving your collarbones out to the side. They're actually piercing through the sides of your shoulders, moving to the opposite sides of the room. And then take your awareness to your shoulder blades and imagine your shoulder blades moving down and out to the side of your body. When you've done that, you stabilize your torso and your thoracic spine. And then lastly, you take your focus to your hips. Now, you haven't moved a finger. You're only doing this with your mind. You take your focus to your hips. You feel your pelvis grounded on the floor. And then imagine where your thigh bone, your thigh bone has a ball like this that fits into your hip socket. Just imagine your thigh bone becoming incredibly light and just slightly, not dislocating, just slightly moving out of the socket, so that it creates space in your pelvis. And when you do that, you align your spine. Now, the spine is the physical representation in Jin Shin Jitsu of that energy dimension that connects us to source, to divinity, to God, whatever your term is. And all your nerves come out of your spine. And so when you align your spine, you don't only get the physical benefit of this spinal alignment and the nerves being able to move into the spaces that they're supposed to be in. They're not being impacted or impinged. And so your nervous system works more effectively, but you're energetically aligning everything. You're going to have to just trust me on that. And you're essentially allowing that divine light to move through your body. So there's healing that happens when you align the spine correctly. And the static back position does that for you automatically. The only thing that I think you do need to focus on is this tilting of the chin, all right? So your chin needs to be like this, not like this, just like we sit like this in front of computers. So, it almost has to feel like you're not like this so that you can see your double chin, just sort of here, okay? I've got a double chin, you might not have one. So, so when you couple that with the Alexander, so it's going to take you 3 minutes to do the Alexander, right? Or 5 minutes if you want to. So that's already 5 minutes of your 20 gone. What you could do, now I've never done this, but what you could do is you could do the body scan after that, if you wanted to. So if you're not like Antoinette, who likes to lie in bed and do her body scan and her golden sparkles visualization, you could get out of bed, get yourself comfortable on the floor, get into the static back position, align your spine, as I've just explained to you, and then do your body scan and your golden sparkles visualization. 20 minutes, all done. So the only thing that you might, or you could do static back, you could do the slight Alexander, which is part of static back, right? The way I've explained it to you now, and you could do your future life visualization. So it doesn't have to be, okay, now you need 20 minutes for the body scan and you need 20 minutes for the future life and you need 20 minutes for static back and you need an hour. You know what? I do believe that we can all give ourselves an hour first thing in the morning, but that's my that's my belief. You know what? We can all give ourselves 20 minutes first thing in the morning. And it's the action, again, it's the act of prioritizing those 20 minutes or half an hour, however long you have for you, that is part of the healing. It's part of the commitment to the process. So that's static back. And I think that that's actually all you need to start off and start your morning practice. Now, you may have a different morning practice. So I, for example, have another morning practice. I have a 40-minute dedicated yoga and meditation practice that I do every single day. And the reason why I do it every single day is not because I'm so disciplined or because I'm so virtuous or because I'm so spiritual. It's because it works. When I do it, I have a much, much, much more regulated day. When I don't do it, I have a much more dysregulated day. And quite frankly, I prefer to have a lovely life rather than an awful life, because shit's always going to happen. And I want to be able to regulate that when it happens. So that's what I do first thing in the morning. So I add static back to that and then do all the other stuff in the static back, right? But that's me. You don't have to do it. So if you have a different meditation practice, you might go, oh, Loretta, I've already got a meditation practice and it takes me 40 minutes. I can't get up any earlier than that. Okay. Well, you know what? You could then have a dedicated evening practice. That's 20 minutes. You could come home from a long day at work, if that's what you're doing, and you could go. Static back is great when you've been up all day. It's really good at the end of the day, because it actually just rejuvenates you. So if I don't get a chance to do it in the morning, I tend to do it at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, not at bedtime, but because what it does is that it allows the rest of my evening to be more regulated. Okay. So just know this, your mind is always going to make excuses. Your ego is always going to try and maintain the status quo. It's always going to tell you why it's not a good idea. You're going to have 100 rational reasons why you can't do what we've just told you about. So you can listen to that. Listen to it. It's important. What are the thoughts that you're having about this? What is it making you feel? And how's it making you feel? What does it make you want to do? That's important, right? Why is this not going to work for you? Well, you don't know until you've tried, right? But your mind's going to tell you all the reasons. So just acknowledge that and then just ask yourself, am I committed to my healing? And if the answer is yes, then the next thing I want to ask you is, no matter what, are you committed to your healing no matter what? Because the day you commit to it no matter what, you will do the practice no matter what. And if you can't say no matter what, then you have to spend a little bit more time going to dig around why it is you potentially not committed to the healing. Because there's an agenda, right? And so you may need a coach, you may need someone to help you with that. You may need some time in reflection and self-awareness. But why, if you think about this, why would we not want to live our best lives? I mean, if someone said to me, yeah, you can either live your absolute best life or you could live this life, which is maybe not your best life, I'd go, no, I want that. And they go, well, are you prepared to pay the price for it? Because there is a price. Mm-hmm. And so the no matter what is like, it doesn't matter how much it costs, I'm actually doing it. And I don't mean money. I'm talking about time, commitment, overcoming limbic friction. All right. Mm-hmm. So can you commit to your healing no matter what? Yeah, no matter what. So no matter what is like, well, if you had to spend 24 hours doing this, okay, well, I'm like, no, not that. But so 20 minutes? Sure, I think I can do 20 minutes, right? Because that's how badly I really, really want it. But no, there are going to be 1,000 reasons why you can't. So just go into this knowing it's difficult to set that. It's difficult to do it. There's going to be resistance. You're going to have some limbic friction. But if you change nothing, nothing's going to change. If you make a commitment, even if you don't know how you're going to stick to it, even if you don't know how you're going to get this done every day, and you just, even if you only get it right twice a week, and then you keep on doing it and you get it right 3 times a week, and you keep on doing it, and then some weeks you don't do it at all, and then you go, okay, I've got to go back to that, and you go back. That's part of the process.
Yeah, and I think one of the gifts of illness, one of the real gifts cancer gave me is I did do a daily practice before cancer for a long time, but I was doing it in a bypassing way. So if you do have a current practice, brilliant, well done, but make sure it's not bypassing. And if you're not sure about what we mean by that, please ask us. We can do a little masterclass on it, or because honestly, I didn't have a clue until cancer. So the gift cancer gave me, and this is the gift in illness, okay, I can tell you now, is it's a very extreme situation. So I had to show up because I wanted to help myself heal. I didn't want to just hand myself over to an oncologist for chemo or leave it randomly to external forces. So I had no idea how to do that. But I knew I had to do some kind of practice because I'd had enough spiritual self-help behind me. But when you've got cancerous tumors sitting at the top of your spine and you've got a stage 4 galloping cancer, there is no better motivation on the planet to show up, let me tell you. And I'm embarrassed to say it took that for me to realize the commitment you need, the burning desire you need, the motivation you need, the repetition you need to do this. So for people like Loretta who have not been really sick or don't have huge crises, respect, Loretta, because if you can do this before you beaten to a pulp or broken into pieces, you're much less likely to get broken. Or if you do get broken, you'll know how to deal with it. So please, I'm encouraging you and people. So you say, why would people not choose their best life? Because we don't realize what a best life is, actually.
Right.
So that's a lot about what our podcast episodes have been about. I thought I was leading my best life, but you really have to start asking yourself, and that's why all our episodes are relevant. What's really running your best life show? Is it your unconscious patterning, your coping mechanisms, your belief that achieving more, educating yourself more is the good life? So I had to be seriously ill and broken to realize I wasn't living a good life at all. Yeah. So I did 3 hours of daily practice when I had cancer, but I was very ill. I had nothing else to do. I took a year off work. But as Loretta says, if you're not sick, do it now. And if you are sick and you don't have 3 hours, some people still have to work. This is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. It's free, it's simple, but let me tell you, it's not easy. And Loretta's just defined why, because of the limbic friction, because of the resistance, because of the belief in, oh, it's too simple. I'm going to an oncologist, or I've got a great homeopath, or I'm on this brutal eating regime, which can all be very, very healing. And we think this is like too simple. I was like, a healing sparkle visualization is going to cure my cancer. I'm not saying it's the only thing, because healing's always multifaceted, but let me tell you how powerful it was. I had tumors dissolve, and I can't prove it was the visualization, but I'm telling you now, it had a lot to do with it. So don't underestimate simple. As Loretta said, don't underestimate the power that you have within you, but you have to show up. And it's the same for everyday life. I've realized now, when I stop showing up to do these simple practices, my body always brings me back there. Maybe my body's more sensitive than others, but I get sick again. And I'm like, so yeah, you really can take this seriously. And Loretta and I will talk about we've already have in other episodes. All our episodes are relevant, either with information or tools. We will talk about minute-to-minute, day-to-day things you can do, like we already have. But we wanted to just kick this off as an absolute starting point. This is where I started. And if you don't start here, you're not going to have the groundedness and the nervous system regulation to be able to do all the other stuff.
I just want to add, thank you, Antoinette. I want to just add that, so as Antoinette says, I mean, I've had illnesses, but I haven't had cancer or an autoimmune disease or whatever the case may be. And part of the reason why I probably haven't had that yet is because I have been on a quest to optimize health since I was really young, because I went into a profession that was tied to that. And what happened was, because I started doing I like exercise regularly and started eating well and doing the more physical things when I was in my 20s, because I was the example, right? I was like, well, you can't be telling other people what they shouldn't eat. And then, I don't know, having hamburgers every day. I got used to a high level of vitality and a good quality of health. And that's what's kept me in the game. So it's not that I'm more disciplined than you. It's not that I am wiser than anyone. It is that by the grace of God, the angels, the universe, I fell into a profession that centered around not just health and disease, but the alternative way to get there. I'm going to say the holistic way to get there, which included, what do you eat? Where are you living? How are you moving? What are your relationships like? All right. And because I was so fortunate to have been really sick when I was really little, and then not so sick when I was older, the reason why I actually do my practices is because I know what it feels like to feel amazing. And I know how shit it feels when I don't feel amazing. And
Loretta, sorry to interrupt you, but most people don't realize how much better they could feel or how bad they actually feel, because a lot of people are exercising and eating healthy, but you have no idea how much better you can feel. Now, Loretta, so wasn't it a blessing? So once again, sickness, it's amazing, the blessings in illness, the messages, the blessings. So thank you for sharing that. And you may not realize how much better you can feel, even if you're not sick.
100%. And this is not a judgment, but on New Year's Day, my husband and I were like, how many people are feeling like absolute hell today, right? Because they went too large, or just on a Sunday. How many people feel awful because they drank too much the night before? It's not a judgment on that. I mean, honestly, if you love doing that, do it. But my point is, once you've got a taste of what it feels like to feel amazing in your body and in your mind and in your emotions, and just like when you have that feeling of like what it feels like to have life coursing through you, you're not going to want to lose it. And that's what reduces the limbic friction. So, you can either have your disease later in your life, like most people do, and you can get there. Or I was lucky. I had it very early in my life, which allowed me to get there sooner. It doesn't mean I'm not going to still get sick. I may well still get the cancer, whatever it is. But as Antoinette says, if that happens, I have this. I know what this feels like. And this is what I know I can get back to. So, and if I can do it, anyone can do it. This is no special gift required, right? It's the Creator's gift to all humans. That's why you do have the ability to be your own healer. You just have to make a decision.
Yeah, and you need to do the work. Sorry, there's no bypassing. There's no quick fix. It's up to you, and you can. It's magnificent, this journey, and it's simple, but it's not always easy. So maybe to end, we can just say, if you are sick, because a lot of sick people are our target. That is our target audience. If you are sick, I don't mean this in any frivolous, light-hearted way, because having cancer is terrible and being very sick is not good, but it is an opportunity. Symptoms are an opportunity, and I think we've done an episode on that, and if we haven't, we will. And so hang in with us, and possibly your illness could become the very breakthrough for a better life, as it was with me. And every time I forget that, I just get taken back. So yeah, rather don't be like me, on and off and on and off. Just switch it on and do it every day like Loretta does.
Right. Well, I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much for listening to this one. And we will be back next week with more around the missing link in your healing. If you found this podcast useful, please will you share it with your friends. Please will you share the podcast link with your friends and advise them to start at episode 1, okay? Because we were talking about this before we started, and what we've actually done is we've sequenced it in such a way that if you go through all the episodes, it's almost like a workshop, because there's like knowledge and there's theory and then there's tools and if you just if you put all that stuff together, you've actually got an outline or a roadmap that you can take the parts that you find useful and you can start applying them, and you can take those steps towards healing yourself, your body, and your life. So we'll see you next week.
Yeah, and sorry, just to add, not to brag or anything, but I've done thousands and thousands of hours of research and hard yards on my healing journey, and you've been on this journey your whole life and helped so many people. So we are extracting for you the essence of all of this into a podcast. So yeah, enjoy.